Hi there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. We got a good one for you today. Well, it's time to start pulling the old rinker, you know, the guts apart on it. You guys gonna love what I did here. The sun is still barreling down on me in the afternoon, but if you got pole holders on your boat, I had an extra umbrella laying around that I usually use on my old shooting stand over there so I can shoot from the shade, and let's just stick it in the old pole holder. And the beauty part is it creates shade all down in here, which is awesome. We're gonna get some good close-up pictures of this for my history, so when I pull this out and put it in the other one, we'll be in good shape. There's only, I think, 4 bolts, maybe 6, that holds this out drive onto the back of the boat. And there's 2 down at the very bottom, and I think 2 up. We'll point them out when we get there. But the other cool part is I was kind of visiting my other boat and taking a look at it, and oh, something else we did that's going to be along the same lines. This is the trailer that's going to go under Big Blue. This is one that had the old rinker on it. I've already cut the bunks off. They were rotten wood, rotten carpet. And as you can see, this trailer, you know, paint-wise, looks pretty rough. But man, I tell you what, this is some heavy gauge steel. It's got a drop axle. It's heavy duty. We might replace these rollers here with some of those self-centering rollers. I really enjoy those on my other Starcraft boat. When you load it up, the trailers wind in a direction when you're rolling that brings the bow to center. And once you hit, I can hit one of them, and then when I hit the second one, the boat just kind of like goes wham and just straightens right up, which is really handy. Now over here on Big Blue, I was kind of peering into it. And here I've got the old dry dock with casting a little bit of afternoon shade on me. But this is what's in there right now. This is the 120 horse with the flamethrower coil and electronic ignition. Pectronics electronic ignition already installed. What I do like about this boat is it does have a lot of space where the engine's fully exposed, which makes it really nice for pulling the engine. It's going to make it really nice for putting the other one in. As you can see down here in the bottom, this is where the other engine mount sat. It was a board between the pillars. Basically, all I need to do is measure the distance between this engine and the other engine and cut some more floor out right here and put me a stringer across those, a new heavy duty board across that stringer that's there. I'm going to do something really super crazy and strong for sure, but that's all there is to it. It's going to be relatively simple. Then my goal is to make a engine cover that actually covers up the whole engine and goes straight across the boat. I'm going to eliminate the back seating because of the purpose for this boat is to go river, running up and down the river, do some overnights, you know, take advantage of the cuddy cabin, do some overnights in it, and be able to carry enough fuel and supplies and keep them out from underfoot while I'm in the boat. It's going to be exciting. Let's get back over here and get busy with, get some tools out and get busy taking this, you know, the piece I need to hook the engine up to out of the old rinker. And I think I might strip some wiring out of the rinker as well. I like the gauges in it. But all the gauges, if I remember right, do work well in the old Starcraft there. And we're going to turn it into, ooh, careful now. As we can see, we have ourselves a boat lion checking out the undersides of the boat to making sure there's no mice. How you doing, Toast? That particular cat's called Toast. I don't know why. Grandkids named it Toast. He's as friendliest cat as you'll meet too. He's a cuddler, but he's also a killer. And as you can see, let's go over here. I know you guys might not be cat people, but you got to see these little guys in action. There's a couple of, these are about 6 or 7 month old cats maybe, from another litter here. This is the most recent litter. As you guys saw the other day in a video, there's Oreo. Yeah, how you doing, Oreo? He's a riot. When he was little, let's call him in toddlerville, the way he ran, he'd hunch his back up and he'd run like almost crab walk. It was so funny watching him try to run when he was little. All right, let's get some tools and get in the boat and get after it. All right, at first glance here, it would appear that there's 2 heavy-duty bolts down here that go through the transom. There's 2 more, there's another bolt here, and it looks like one on the other side that may also go through the transom. We'll have to get this exhaust piece off. We'll pull that off first. That'll give us access to the bolt over here, and then there's 2 more bolts sticking through up here, and maybe 2 here that go through and hook out to the outdrive. And that looks like the last of the big bolts that would actually do that. We'll definitely disconnect this. This is a steering shaft here. We'll need to unscrew this to get the steering shaft slid out. How does that slide out? Oh, it looks like it may disconnect over here. And then we can disconnect the steering shaft from, or steering cable shaft thingy from over here. And we got to do this one though to let the outdrive come out the back. And looks like it should be pretty simple. I'm going to take the trim pump off because we're not going to use this trim pump. I've got a brand new one from SCI Marine that we're going to put on. 3 bolts, and this will set aside here. And as you can see here, this is where the lines come in from the bottom. The nice thing about feeding these lines up through is I'll be able to actually feed this up and get my trim pump up in place, or at least the lines up in place, before I set an engine in here. Because once I set an engine in here, this becomes, it's doable, very doable. I've done it twice already, but it really is nice if you don't have anything in the way when you feed these lines up through, because we're going to put some new internal lines on here. Now, I will ask a question to a few people that may know some things. You know, the hydraulic lines were coming up, they come up and circulate and go through this guy right here. This is on the back of the boat. It has a couple wires coming out of it. I don't know what it does. Is it a stabilizer? Is it a cushion? What? I got to look up and see what that does. I'm learning on this, guys, as well as everybody else here, because I have not dealt with this before. It looks like 2 bolts here. That comes up and is out of the way, but it is some wiring tied to it that had a plug-in right here. We also got some other wires over here that were plugged in that looks like they go up to another switch here. Looks like a limit switch right here. Actually, it's a switch that if this rocked up and down, so I'm guessing it has to do with like a neutral safety switch. There again, you got both your cables. You got your throttle cable and your shift cable coming in back here. This one here would come across and goes out to the outdrive down below. That's your shift cable. This would be your throttle / shift cable here. There's another cable. I shouldn't say that. There's your throttle cable here. That's what was hooked on there. So we'll have to hang on to this boat for a little bit as a reference while I'm swapping things out, just to make sure I get things hooked back up right. I've never done an engine swap on one of these boats before, so this will be a first. We'll also get the gimbal apart. We'll take it all apart, service it, put a new gimbal bearing in. I mean, this thing's going to be sealed up liquid tight when I'm done with it, is the goal. The other thing I'm curious about is how thick this transom is here compared to the transom I'm getting ready to put it onto, and are the thicknesses similar? Will this work? My guess is this is a universal setup that's designed, you know, they designed the boats around all the different types of transoms that are out there. But I think that's let's just call it a good video on what this thing looks like and kind of get an idea where everything goes. And so this is part for you guys and part for me as well. Like I said, shifter. This is shifter to the outdrive. This is shifter to the connect here. And then this here is the throttle over here linkage. And the way that shifter works up in the front is it uses throttle control, and then it picks up shift control, and then it's throttle and shift together. It's a neat little science there going on. Man, the paint on this thing here is just like, I mean, it's like brand new. There's just paint missing around the engine mount here. That's where some rubber washers and stuff like that were sitting. But my goodness, this thing is in such clean shape, for sure. The rubber here seems to be in pretty good shape. Doesn't seem too charred or burned up. Do I reuse it or not? I might, since I'm doing this, I might put me a new one on here, but these things are over $100 each for that guy right there. But it may just be worth it just to put new rubber in there, because I can see down in here, you can see where some of the rubber, I don't know, I don't think it's gotten too hot. So you can see some soot build up a little bit. It's not bad at all. There again, it's not that awful to change it out either. If you have to put a new one in, because the new one's going to be pretty pliable. This rubber seems very pliable, and seems like it would it's not even cracked, checked, or nothing, so it might be all right to use. Well, that came off pretty easy. Sometimes I was a little bit worried that this might have some adhesive on here. And it looks like it had some silicone at one time, but it's long been, you know, let's just say tired. But yeah, that had 6 main things holding it together. Obviously, you got your hydraulic lines, you got your shift cable sticking through here, you got your trim wires. This has trim sensors on it apparently. I'll decide whether I want to actually rewire those up and run them through here in case I want to hook it up. But yeah, 1, 2 bolts up here, or studs sticking out with nuts on it here. Down here we have some bolts that came in from the back side that have a square on the head and it locks in place here. And those are 3/4 inch socket, took those off. And then 2 bolts right here, so 6 fasteners actually held this in. Plus you saw me in the time lapse taking the steering cable loose, and here you go, you got your steering here. It's like, whoo, I'm a puppet, look at me, I'm an outdrive master. How you doing up? That's just stupid. Why did I do that? I don't know why I did that. But anyway, we're gonna clean this all up. We got a little bit of work here to clean that up. We'll take things apart. I'm gonna get this gimbal out of here, get this apart, get the boot off, just get this completely wiped down. We're gonna go through we're gonna sandblast it and powder. I can't keep a straight face. I ain't sandblasting and powder coating nothing. We're gonna clean it up, and we're gonna grease it up, and we're gonna reassemble it and put it back together. This is not getting any fresh paint. This isn't, you know, this particular boat's special day, let's call it that. But pretty tickled how it all looks. This here, the gimbal, you know, this is just reflective of how clean everything is in the boat as far as the engine goes. There is no lost motion here. This thing is tight. It's a shame, because this was a really nice boat if it had been kept up, you know, covered, kept in a, you know, indoors and stuff. That thing would have been a heck of a nice survivor boat, because it has low hours, really low hours. The rest of the boat, unfortunately, the weather got a hold of it pretty good, and just somebody actually left a comment and go, man, somebody would have restored that, or somebody could have used that glass. And I hear you. There's people that could probably use the glass off the boat and a few other things, but those people are few and far between for that particular glass and that boat. And that year, if somebody restored it, you know, it'd be, let's just call it 1 in 800 billion that might need that. And they're probably nowhere near me, and I'm not taking it off, and I'm not shipping glass anywhere. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a good thought, though. Do appreciate my comments that people leave down below. I try to respond to as many of them as I can. All right, the nice thing is, this is out. We can clean it up. The next step is, let's get that other engine started, and let's do the same thing to pull this out, and then we can put this new style in. And when I say new style, the main thing that's new about it is the hydraulic lines come in from the bottom here, and you got your 2 lines on each side to go to each lift cylinder, and it connects up to this junction block, comes up through the bottom. And I tell you what though, there's gonna be so many things that are gonna be so much easier to work on, like putting this new gimbal boot in and a new exhaust boot in while it's here on a bench, and I got access to both sides. Being probably the first and only time this ever happens to me, unless for some reason I get unlucky or let's just call it really lucky, and I'm able to do this engine swap again of some sorts. But yeah, this gasket, oh, I gotta show you this. Wow, I just noticed this. This gasket has never been in the right spot here. And that might be why you see silicone up around here. Maybe some water was getting in up here. Because when you're sitting typically on a boat, when you're sitting there not going anywhere, this is all below the water line. Usually my water line hits about right up here on most of my boats. So that gasket wasn't doing jack diddly. And somebody obviously put some silicone around here to try to seal it up at some point in history. Looks like I will need a new shifter cable. This one is rusted and still moves freely. But when you got it this far apart, some of these cables that are marginal, or you know, it's just a good time to replace them. And that's all there is to it. Got a little rain done out there. I want you guys to check, I don't know if you can see this or not, if you can catch that. This arm, see my arms are normally like straight. They're not bulging with muscle. But look at this arm here, how it has this big giant curve in it right now. I had a yellow jacket come off the nest and just nailed me. And I was in the boat, and the boat fell over. You know, I have it sitting on there. I kind of got some tires shoved in there, but it still rocks and falls. And it fell, and I went to the other side of the boat, and apparently my tools fell a little bit, made a lot of noise, disturbed. There's at least I could see 3 wasps on this wasp nest, and that come up and around, and one of them just bam, nailed me right in the arm. Didn't even waste any time. But my little torch, let's just say 2 of the 3 are no longer bees. That's all there is to it. Wasp, whatever, the bee family. All right. Oh, hey there, Mr. Spider. How you doing? You been on there a long time? Man, this here's got some, ooh. Somebody been greasing the poop out of it, that's for sure. There's a, look at all that grease. That is a lot of grease up in here. So whoever had it, you know, the first few years, that it probably got most of its use, greased it. I see there's at least 2, maybe 3 types of grease in here so far. There's like an orange, a tan, and a red grease in there. That means somebody's took care of it for a little while. All right, let's see if we can get out there and get that old big boat started. All right, folks, we're gonna be dodging some possible rain. As you see, the clouds are in the sky, surrounded by different clouds, some lighter, some darker. And there's a threat of rain for the rest of the afternoon, but I gotta get busy on this thing. I put it off yesterday. I did a bunch of other stuff, and I didn't get to this, but I decided, well, let's just do it. So I've got both umbrellas deployed. I got my bimini top up, so if it rains, hopefully I can keep the rain in the back of the boat to a minimum. The goal is to keep it dry. Now, if you guys, to put it in perspective how tall this boat is, take note of how much distance there is from right here to the top of the boat on this one. This is a deep, what I call a deep boat. Because you look at here, from the here to the top on this one, it's just your standard 17-foot boat. From there to there, can't be more than about 13, 14 inches. Or that one there is approaching over around 2 feet easily enough. As you can see, I've got a gas can on the back, and I've got a marine RV dual purpose out of the banana. And it's got my favorite kind of battery, which just has wing nuts, because I have wing nut connections in this boat so far. So let's drag these in, and we're just gonna put the fuel hose into the can, battery on it, and we're gonna twist the key. This thing's been sitting for 2 years. I'm really curious as to how easily is it gonna start. This will be a test. I find a good spot to put you guys in so you can see what I'm doing. That's not too bad, a bird's eye view. And just to give you another idea, I have to use a little step stool here to climb into this boat, because standing in the boat, it's this area here. It's, as you can see, it's over crotch deep back here, so I have to step over. Even with my dry dock, I still got to use this step ladder to step in and out. So that's a good thing. You know, you're not going to accidentally fall out of this boat unless you try really hard. Now I've pulled the air cleaner off because I wanted to watch the choke. The choke is slammed shut. Let's go ahead and hook the battery up. Oh my goodness. These ends are pretty dirty. But we go back in here with the 6-cylinder. We're going to have a lot of new cabling. Just a lot of, you know, just this. Good thing, no sparks. And the motor mount, the front motor mount, as you can see, is already removed. I removed that last year as well. This one does have a Petronix flamethrower coil. It has Petronix electronic ignition and a flamethrower coil. I converted it to electronic ignition last year. Let's see. We're actually going to the, it's like this fuel lane right here is the one that's we're utilizing. Will it still fit down through here? Ooh, that's way too tight. We're just gonna go ahead and go straight into here, just like that. All right. I'm gonna give her a couple of pumps with the throttle. In case, I think I probably ran it dry. I'm pretty sure I most likely did. So this thing's gonna have to siphon up through here. This has a two-way valve. So it had twin tanks in it, which is awesome. But both of them leak, so they can't be in here. Excuse me. All right. Nothing in the doing it but the doing it, I guess. That starter's really loud in here. There, she finally got some fuel up in her. Dropping right into an idle. Let's put some water on it. As you can see, this thing runs really good. I forgot there's water in the bottom. I forgot to shut off my 2 winterizing valves where I winterize it, and water was coming out there, so I shut them off just now. Everything's nice and cold here again. Good shape. I'm going to show you what I do to run water when the outdrive is not on it. Now, as you can see here, what I've got, it's hard to see it, but it's a piece of PVC. This is some of that PVC pipe I use for making the frames. Just for an example, here's a piece. It always has this end on one end so you can hook them together. Well, I take that and cut it off, and then I sand it down so it fits in there nice and tight, and I just shove it in. And that way I can turn my valve on here and it won't build up too much pressure because it'll blow it back out this way. And as you can see, there's plenty of water flowing, coming out where the exhaust pipe would be. You know, it would normally come out through here and then down and underneath the water, right? I'll stick the microphone off the back of the boat and rev it up a couple times for you. Now, what's really cool about this whole boat, the tachometer's still working, the oil pressure gauge works, the temperature gauge works, and the amp meter works. See, it's pulling positive amps there. And it's like I said, the tach works really well. She's sitting there idling about 700 RPM. Then these buttons actually still work. So I may actually take these buttons, I'm not sure why this is loose. I may actually use the 3 buttons here and hook it up to my brand new trim pump when I put that in. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this boat, this has a little cuddy cabin. So you come right down through here. I know it's kind of dark, but you got enough room in here. You know, they got little curtains. I'm gonna crawl down in here real quick. Believe it or not, it don't smell. It smells like an old boat. It doesn't smell all bad, but it has a little light in here. I don't think works. Maybe it does, but these are all windows under here. All the way around there's windows, and it's got these little, somebody took some towels on springs and converted them into curtains. So my goal is to camp in here. It's got room for an anchor, life jackets. Down on this side, there's another rope and anchor. There's an anchor there. Looks like that needs to be vacuumed out pretty bad. Got some leaves in here from last year apparently. Must have got me a fall day when the There's an actual radio, which I'll be mounting back up on this thing. My goal is to make me some cushions to go in here, along with a piece that goes in this gap, so I can stretch out, because I can easily, now keep in mind I'm 6'1", used to be 6'2", but I'm sitting with my back. If I go with my back up against the sidewall of the boat, which is actually kind of like a recliner, my head doesn't quite hit the ceiling and my feet hit here. So I can easily sleep in here, no issues whatsoever. But yeah, she's pretty cool. She's been done up really nice and fun. There's also a window, I would call it a door, vent door or whatever, on the very front of the bow. That's pretty cool. It's actually just a really, really neat old boat. And I can see why people would buy it, because, like I said, I pulled this thing across the scale with the boat, motor, trailer, and the whole thing weighed like 2,200 pounds. Minus the tongue weight, obviously. The tongue weight wasn't on it, but that's pretty light for a boat this physical size. Well, the nice thing is it is all aluminum. Hey, there's Mercury. Hey, buddy. This thing here is just ticking away. Now, you can see where the motor mount is up front here, where it used to sit. What I'll be able to do is take the motor mount off of this one, measure from the back wall to the center of that motor mount, and I'll be able to do the back wall to the front here, and I'll be able to get me a good idea as to where my new motor mount needs to be. And the cool part is, being an aluminum boat, the way this is fastened in, it's just screwed in, and I can just take and cut this right here up and over and extend it out a little bit. Still leave my floor back here, because the floor is still in good shape. It's solid, no soft spots. The transom's in good shape, no soft spots back there, no rot. So the only thing I need to really pay attention to is I need to convert these black seats into something not black seats. And this side panels, well, they could stay black because I'm not sitting on those, but we could also take all the rivets out, recover it, and put new rivets in. Or I may just mask it off and use some white vinyl paint, or maybe some blue vinyl paint. I will replace this flooring eventually with some of that, what do you call it, EVA foam or C-deck or something like that, and preferably a color that matches good old baby blue here. So I know the name of the boat is not anything what I'd call neat. It's just going to be called Big Blue. And not Babe the Big Blue Ox or anything like that. It's just Big Blue. That's all it's going to be called. I like it. But yeah, that was interesting back in the day in '68. Even though they had, I'm pretty sure they had 6 cylinders back then. They had V8s back then. I'm not sure what they all had in boats back in '68 and '67, in that range. Late '60s, let's call it. But the good news is this had 120 horse in. Apparently it pushed the boat pretty decent. But the nice part is it's going to have a much bigger engine. It's going to be a little heavier, but I'm pretty confident that this boat can handle it. And we're going to build, like I said, an engine cover. The engine cover, I'm planning on making a flat one that goes straight across. I'm not worried about seating on the backside anymore. That's not what this boat's all about for me. So I want to make an engine cover that comes out and covers the front, just square it off. Maybe even round it a little bit just for fun. But have it so I have a flat deck that basically maybe sits right on top of this rail right here. Take advantage of this right here. Put me some hinges in the back so I can lift it up and down. I'm actually going to lift it. My thoughts were to lift it this way. So when I lift it up, this whole cover is out of my way. But I could also lift it straight up and back with some air cylinders or something, or some of those pressurized cylinders like you have on your hatchback on your vehicle. I could have those mounted on it, lift it up, and then I want to have the front so maybe it swings open both directions. So when you have this up and that open, I've got the same access to this engine that I have right now at this moment. Access to the batteries, to the trim pump, to the fuel, anything I need back there, and possibly create some storage compartments back in this area. That's the end game with this. But the first thing is, now that we know this engine runs and runs really well, we're going to go ahead and pull it out, put it on one of my engine stands I have in the shop, and then I'm going to take and take the actual transom mount off and get it ready and prep it, and maybe have to do some cutting to fit the new transom mount in, because I do believe this may only be held in with 4 bolts / studs coming through the transom, where my new one has 6. You know, it's new. It's like in the 70s versus the late 60s. That's what I'm calling new. To pick this engine up, you got 2 lift points that are already designed on it. One is right here. The other one is back right down there. It's hard to see. I'll see if I can get my hand. I can't get my hand. Right there where the tip of my fingers, that's where the other one's at. That's your lifting points. To lift this engine out of here, basically all I gotta do is undo these two pipe clamps to release this boot from this exhaust here, and then take that bolt out. There's another one just like it right there. Once that's out and you have the outdrive off, it's just a matter of unplugging the wiring harness, disconnect your positive and negative battery terminal, and then anything that's running your trim pump, that's on a separate harness. That's basically, it's just the battery stuff. And then lift this bad boy out. Just that easy. I say just that easy, but as I showed you earlier, the tallness of this transom can be prohibitive for me getting my standard height jacks or engine hoist and getting it to go high enough. So I've got a trick for that. I want you to stay tuned, because it's either going to work or it's going to be, you know, let's just call it a pretty good failure if it doesn't work, because I also want to weigh this engine to see how much it weighs. We know the 6-cylinder weighs 539 pounds, I believe it was. I'm kind of curious if this weighs 100 pounds more, 50 pounds more. It'll kind of give me an idea of how well this system I'm getting ready to do to lift this one out works. Getting it out will work getting this back in. And as you can see, the front motor mount's already been removed from a couple years ago. I got it out of there so I could, I don't know why I pulled it out, to be honest with you. I thought I was going to go after something on the water pump, maybe. Maybe I was going to go after the timing gears and take a look at that. I don't remember. What I do know is she's running, she's putting out juice. This engine's a good engine to go in any boat. Automatic choke obviously works. When we look at it now, it's probably pointing straight up and down as it should be. Boy, you see the difference there? It just idled up. Makes you wonder how much restriction this generates. Obviously a little bit of air restriction there. The other good news is there's no dead spot. This carburetor is working as it should. When you rev it up, now this has the Merc control, which has all your throttle here, and then your forward and reverse are here. And this throttle is just for the this throttle here is just for starting it, then it's down, and then everything else takes over from here. As you can see, that would kick it into gear and forward. This would go into reverse and then rev up. Or you can just do it here in neutral. Just like that. .360 light. I got a 360 light on the front. That's cool. That one seems to work. Pump works. Blower works. This actually has a windshield wiper that actually works. And let's see what else we got here. I can hear the horn wanting to work. Let's see how easy she starts up warm. Should just be a click of the starter and she's off to the races. That starter sounds terrible. You guys hear that? A lot of starter grind going on there. It's working. The starter needs replaced. The engine's doing really well. I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run this thing out of fuel. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the line out of the gas tank here. And I'm just gonna run it at a little bit of a high idle till she dies. That'll get all, whoops. That'll get all the gas out of the carburetor. There she goes. I would be doing all you folks a disservice if I didn't show you my little rig I got going on here. So what I did is I put my cherry picker without the legs on the front of it, so it reaches over the back of the boat on my trailer, which gains me about two and a half feet off the ground. There at that point, I've got a whole bunch of lift left in that cylinder to clear the back of the boat. I took my heavy duty strap-and-nose straps, hooked them into the top of this apparatus and back to an anchor point on the front of each side of my trailer. And as you guys know, this trailer has the axle set pretty far back, so I've got a lot of weight on this side of the trailer. Not 500 pounds worth, but a decent amount. The hitch ball is going to be doing some work, and if everything goes south, it just means it popped off my hitch ball. But my goal here is that I take this thing and raise it up enough that I can ease ahead just enough to clear the boat, and then set it all the way down and basically just about set it right on the trailer. Then I can wheel it around to my shop, jack it back up a little bit, but not too much, and set it right on my engine stand that I built for it that's on wheels. Something of that nature. That's the plan. It's already starting to drizzle pretty decent out. And good thing I got these 2 umbrellas and my bimini up. That's going to help keep things, let's just say, drier than it would be. All right, I'm going to put you guys on time lapse. I'm going to undo some stuff in here, get some chains on it, see if I can get this thing picked out of here in the next few minutes. Well, as you guys saw right down here, I've got the old 120 horse out, 1968 120 horse out of the back of the Starcraft in here on an engine stand that I already pre-built. When I built the one for the 6-cylinder, I knew I was going to be pulling that out, so I built another one for the 4-cylinder. And it's sitting in here. Yes, it's wet because it was raining on me while I was doing that. Now, the umbrellas and the bimini and both umbrellas coming over there kept 90% of the boat dry. And then I'm using the actual boat cover on the front part to kind of pull it back to kind of keep that a little bit dry. But what we're going to do next is start splitting. We got to take that, what do you want to call it, the thing that holds that, and outdrive that, and you know, the piece in the middle of all that that's connected to the boat. We're going to pull that apart. I'm going to do some research on what I need to do for sealing that up. I've got another video. I'm testing some adhesive sealants. This particular boat and this style doesn't have a groove around it. It has just a flat gasket that goes up against the boat. So we're gonna, you know, I'm testing some adhesive sealants and some neoprene and to see if all that'll work. I don't want to buy what they got out there available as this cork gasket. Probably works just fine. You still got to use some adhesive sealant stuff, and is the cork as strong and as durable as the neoprene if I got something to adhere to it? And it'll work and last a long time and not get loose and compress over time, that's what I'm going for. Because I only want to do this once. I don't want to go, hey, 10 years later, you know, I want to, looks like we need to service that gasket. No, that's not happening. We want my grandkids to be able to get in that boat and not worry about that transom leaking. But there again, gimbal boots, there's all these places that a boat can leak back there. First one is the gasket, because that's between that and what's filling it in is the big holes being covered in. It's being reduced down to 3 smaller holes, which is the gimbal boot, the exhaust boot, and the shift cable boot. And those 3 things all need to be sealed up tight too, so those prevent water from coming in the back of your boat. Those give out, water starts coming in to your boat at what I would call an alarming rate. And if you don't have a big enough bilge pump, you might go to the bottom of whatever body of water you are in at an alarming rate. And nobody wants any of that. All right, I'm gonna go grab me some supper, and then I'm gonna get busy with the, I'm gonna go out there and work underneath that. Like I said, the Bimini and the umbrellas are doing a really good job of keeping me 90% dry under that boat, which is gonna allow me to go out there with my big light and put some light out there, put you guys on some time lapse and see if I can get that opened up back there. We're getting a long ways to, you know, we're gonna go over. Here's the other gimbal pieces. We got to clean that up. And once I put that back together and get that adhered to the boat, then it's a matter of front motor mount, drop the motor in, out drive. We're gonna get close. I am not gonna hit over there on the board there. I have an August 9th date, but I'm not gonna hit that. Today's August 5th, and we're gonna miss that one. I can do some work in the evenings, and I did take next Friday off so I can have a 3-day weekend and see if I can make some serious headway in that direction. But this blue boat, my goal for this summer, and if I don't do it, I'm going to be disappointed in myself. That blue boat is going in the water. It may not be completely finished, but it will be under the 165 horsepower power, going up and down the lake, testing it out, making sure it works. And I got a 12-gallon tank here I can put on there and just play around on the lake with my 12-gallon tank, temporary tank, and make sure everything's going to work. Put the new trim pump and hoses from SEI Marine back over here over my shoulder. There's that banner there that you guys see in most all of my videos that I'm in the shop. And we're going to go through and do a little overhauling, so to speak, on the outdrive that should have low hours on it, because the engine appears to have low hours. It just looks more weather torn because it's just been outside. And you get a rookie operator can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Let's put it that way. But all right, see you after supper. Well, folks, I went to supper, came back, and it's raining even harder now, and more of the boat's gotten wet than I care for to get wet. It's not his first time it's gotten wet in its lifetime, and it's not going to hurt it to get wet this one time. But I still got umbrellas over both parts, bimini up, part of the boat cover over it. It's just way too wet and nasty to try to even pull the boat cover back over it right now and put the braces back under it and put the bimini back. It's just a mess right now. So I'm just going to have to wait for it to dry out. And it's supposed to rain like this overnight and through to tomorrow, I believe. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we're in the middle of the... Monday's a 40% chance. Tuesday's sunshiny, so maybe it's that. I did order me a new boat cover. That boat cover that I have on there now is starting to... It's a couple years old now. It's been in the sun, been in the weather. It started to tear. I caught it accidentally and it started to rip. It's been a pretty good boat cover. I can't complain about it. So I just ordered another one for a 20 to 22 foot boat with a 100-inch beam width. I need to have something to put over it to protect it from just the interior getting completely destroyed, you know. So I'm going to call it a video here. Nice thing is we were able to get this guy pulled. It's already dried off. The fan's been in here. I got a fan that circulates air in here to keep it nice, and also when the air is running, it helps move the air around and keep it nice in here. But it's at least we heard this guy ran really, really well, and It's on its own stand now, ready to be put away, stored away. I've got another one over here, 4-cylinder, that's 140 horse that I pulled out of a Bayliner last year. Pulled that out of a Bayliner and never ran it. I need to get this motor out of here and the outdrive off of it and put it on a stand, and it sits. One of these days we're gonna, there again, it's gonna be about, I don't know how long it's been sitting, but it's been a while, and I'm gonna show everybody how to bring one of those back around right on the engine stand. I'm gonna show you how easy it is to get one of these running on a stand and all you need to do to make it happen. So that'll be coming up in the near future. So I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget to share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching this with somebody else's house or somebody else's phone or something, subscriptions are free. You can subscribe to as many videos out there as you want for free on YouTube. And sign up for YouTube don't cost you anything either. So, get out there. Pretty much, this is going to sound crazy. My wife gets tired of it after a while, though. But she can watch, Grey's Anatomy over and over, season after season, and rewatch it. I don't know how she does that. Same way she doesn't understand me being able to watch YouTube all the time. But I watch a bunch of different people, and I call this, you guys are going to think this is crazy, but, YouTube, for the most part, with people that are doing stuff like myself, Matt's Off-Road Recovery, Fab Rats, This Old Outboard, Cody Bass, what are some other ones? Shots Life, trying to think of K6 Outdoors. There's a whole bunch of us out there doing stuff every day, making content, and I call it the last reality TV show because a lot of this stuff that these guys and myself are doing are not staged. There might be some preparation so we can keep it entertaining, like maybe cutting a gasket ahead of time, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening in real time. And Flair's another big one out there. Lunkers TV might be another one out there. There's a lot of them out there that I watch and subscribe to, and it's just, like I said, it's fun to watch. I find it entertaining. Good Sailing GBU is another one. I watch a wide variety, and if I didn't name some of them I watch, you don't know that I watch them anyway, so it don't really matter then, does it? Chances are I subscribe to over 200 different channels. I do it for multiple reasons. I like the content that a lot of them have. I also watch them, I study as a person like trying to, hone my craft a little better on this YouTube thing, is watch how other people edit things, how other people camera angles, and what they call entertaining, what I find entertaining when I watch it, and I try to recreate something like that. But there again, appreciate you all out there. I've got some of the best fans out there. Let's just say it. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. We're moving forward fast and furious on this engine swap, and I'm excited to get it done and get it going and drop this bad boy in the water over the next week or two. Basically, once I get the two halves on the transom glued in, let that fully cure, then I'm going to hang the motor, hang an outdrive, hook up some wiring, fire it up. That's all that's needed. And we'll be ready to drop it in the water. I'll take it to a local lake where I can actually run it and test it out. And then there'll be some more work that needs to be done. We're going to, that's just getting the engine in. It's a major thing. But there's a lot of things I want to get done to make it more, let's say, call it water-worthy, reliability. I'm putting a very reliable engine in it. But I also want to make sure all the wiring has been addressed. I want to make sure the flooring's in good shape, which the flooring is. Floor covering needs redone. Get rid of the black seats. Get me a nice kicker motor. Get me a kicker mount on the back of that boat with a kicker motor on it like I have on my Starcraft, my 76. That's going to be helpful. I can throw a tank in there with a 9.9 or a 15 horse conversion or whatever it is. It's going to be a long shaft because that boat transom is, but it needs to be a long shaft. And what you guys don't realize is when you got a kicker motor like that, you don't have to try to steer it. Everybody tries to put a connecting shaft and steer it and stuff like that. You don't have to. What you have with that outdrive is a giant rudder down there. And if you have that outboard kicker motor pushing straight, I steer, when I'm trolling, I steer with my steering wheel all the time. And I can actually make a pretty decent turn with it if I want to. Even sharper if I have the trolling motor in the water up front and I can make it kick it sideways. But, when you're trolling and you're dragging, you don't want to make too sharp a turn anyway, and it works just perfect. So just food for thought out there. All right, I'm out of here. I've got a lot of straightening up to do in my shop. Even if it's raining tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, and I can't really get out there and do some things, there's plenty to do in here, no doubt. One would be let's just clean it up a little bit, you know, give me some more walking around room. I got projects indoors I need to wrap up too. Boy, do I. Be nice to have some more workbench space back just as soon as I finish off a few things. You guys take care, be good to one another, and remember, an hour a day, just an hour a day moves it along. That's all it takes. Bye.